generally referred to as IOSCO. Then somebody talked about how can I ensure that my investment is protected against fraud and other things. So there's the international police that probably gives us guidelines to which I will try to set our standards to. There's what is called the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force. So that issues guidelines that we try to follow even as we do our work, especially in the space of money laundering. Okay. Then, remember when a person invests, maybe they buy shares, whatever it is, they enter into some agreements, not so. And in that agreement, they expect certain things to be done. So the moment we talk about agreements, I wish there was somebody from law school here. But we are doing business administration, we are doing contract law. Yeah? And one of the elements of the contract that you talked about was what? Agreement. Huh? Offer and acceptance. Which make up an agreement. So what I'm trying to talk about is that even as we do our regulatory work, we are governed by, we are guided by common law principles, which we borrow from contract law, company law, investment law, trade law, and commercial law. So in terms of our regulatory mandate, it's twofold: market development and supervision. Our mandate or functions are basically twofold: market development and supervision. How do we develop the market? We do awareness programs. At times you find us at the show, at the trade fair, Caminex, and other public forums. Why do we do that? We're just trying to encourage people to come and participate. We tell them about the benefits of investing securities and other things, and how we regulate the market. Then you are here. Do you know why you're here? We know tomorrow will be the future leaders. If the guys who are going to have money, we want to tell you that should you invest in securities, your money is safe. And as we do that, we grow in the market. So this is actually part of our market development activities. Have you ever participated in those university debates or whatever it is? Who participated in that? The school challenges and the like. Who participated in that? Or you heard about that? So how we do some of those things, just aimed at market development. Then, even as we develop the market, some of the things that we do is we license somebody else, but they want to know they can participate in the capital markets as a dealer, whatever it is. So we are an institution that licenses people want to participate in the market as dealers. So some participants in the market are licensed, for instance, dealers. Then some are authorized, for instance, collective investment schemes. So when I talk about collective investment schemes, as you hear from my colleagues, Francis and the like, this is just more like a formalized chilimba. But it's formalized because this one has got proper structures through which they operate. They've got a trustee, custodian, and the manager. It's a more structured way, and people can invest in that, and that is regulated. So in terms of market development, other players in the market to be licensed, others will be authorized. Then some people like issuers, they will just have their securities registered. So the commission has got a regulated mandate to authorize, register, license, and authorize. You hear those terms from my other colleagues, probably they will tell you about probably the aspect of what is authorized, what is registered, and what is recognized. Okay. Next slide. I talked about the Securities Act being the principal act that regulates what. But if you look at that act, basically, you can do a summary of some of the salient features that you find in that act. So, I spoke about the commission, it gives us mandate to license, register, recognize, and authorize certain participants in the market. Then, we also conduct inspections and investigations. Why do we do that? Somebody spoke about how do we supervise the market. So when we license these people, we give them a license. It doesn't end there. Because they are holding on to people's monies, we continue monitoring how they are doing their way, how they are handling these this money that they got from the public. How do we do that? We are going to conduct inspections on them periodically from time to time to see if they are really using the license which we give them for the intended purpose. Why are we doing that? Because we've got the mandate of investor protection, ensuring that there is an orderly growth and development of Zambia's capital markets. Yeah? Then, should we receive a complaint that somebody maybe bought shares, they've never received dividends, or they thought they were investing in securities, but this guy ended up maybe going to buy personal things and whatever it is, we investigate without even maybe them knowing that actually investigating to ascertain now they use the money that they bought from the capital markets. Okay. Then, this act also establishes the Capital Markets Tribunal. So that is the forum where if any person is not happy with what the Commission has done, they can go and institute proceedings to challenge the decision that we took against them. And even as we are going to go before the tribunal, justify why we took a certain action against them. Okay, so should we investigate, find them, they did something wrong, we can find them, we can cancel a license, or we can censure them, either privately or public. Or we can institute what we felt as market misconduct proceedings. Then in terms of the licensing procedure, the current act, the Securities Act number 21 of 2016, as amended by Act number 21 of 2022, it requires us now to vet substantial shareholders and directors of a company before we give them the license. Why are we doing that? We want to make sure that people who are coming into the market are fit and proper. They're not criminals. We want to know where did they get this money. Is it because maybe they committed some wrong out there was corruption, then they came and bought shares, then they are getting these dividends, where now if they get rich, we think like, no, he's getting rich because he's getting dividends. When behind that, there was a crime committed somewhere. Then that becomes what refers to what money laundering. Remember, some of you may know what money laundering means. It's simply washing dirty money. It's called washing dirty money because you are doing something to make that money that you are now owing to be legit when in fact not. So, that's the reason why we try to vet substantial shareholders and why we also try to vet directors behind people who are coming to apply for licenses. We want to know who are these people and where did they get the money. Why we don't want criminals to come and use the capital markets to clean or wash their dirty money. Then, FATF, the one I referred to as one of our sources about how we regulate the capital markets doesn't allow us to do that. It prohibits anything that will support money laundering. Next slide. In terms of securities regulation, why is the securities industry regulated? There are basically three objectives: investor protection, and to ensure that capital markets are fair, efficient, and transparent, and reduce systemic risk. So if you go again to a Securities Act under Section 9, you are going to find all those things highlighted there. Then I spoke about us being a member of IOSCO. So under IOSCO, again, you are going to find these as the core principles of securities regulation under Article 58. So, somebody asked again, if I invest my money in securities, how will I ensure that my money will be protected? Your money will be protected, and we will make sure that we watch out for how that money is being utilized by the person that we give to. Why? Because we've got that mandate of investor protection. But even you, as an investor, you've got an obligation to be a smart investor. How do you do that? Ask the right questions. How do you ask the right questions? Make sure that you invest in regulated products. Tinga Science will tell you that if it's, what we say, if it's too good, then it's too good trust. Those things of making, making fast money, invest 100 kwacha, in 4 hours make 1 pin. What kind of business is that? That's just a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme. Somebody just getting, when they get from this one, that one, that one, that one, that one. So if this person gives me 100 kwacha, I get from you. In 6 hours, I can give him back 200, not so. But for me to do this, I need to do a lot of recruitment, not so. By time will come when now the second clause will refer to pay. So those are basically fraudulent schemes and they're not allowed under as long as financial markets. Why? Because they come up with manipulation schemes. So as you invest your money, ask the right questions. What are some of the questions that you can ask? If any person comes to you saying that no, this product you can invest in, ask them, are you regulated? Who regulates you? Do you have a license? Can I see your license? If you are not sure, we maintain an open door policy. Come and either ask from the commission, go to Bank of Zambia, go to PIA. At times they can even show maybe a license, but it could be forged. Remember when you are transacting out there, the commission will be seated here, we are not there. So only rely on information that we get from people out there. So I'm sure that addresses that person asked the question like, probably what role can you play once you invest your money? You can assist us protect your money better by being a smart investor. How do you become a smart investor? Right, ask the right questions and always invest in regulated products and invest with licensed people or entities by the commission. Next slide. How do we undertake our regulated mandate? In terms of structures, I spoke about coming from a department called Enforcement and Legal Services, which runs the enforcement program of the Commission. That's a department where you're just going to find lawyers. People will just tell you about section 1, section blah, blah, whatever it is. Not so. People will go to court. But before that, we also need some skills, like people who've done economics, who've done accounts, business administration, whatever it is. So, in undertaking this regulated mandate, the Commission does this through a number of accountants, procurement, whatever it is. Why do we need HR? We need to employ people. Why do we need finance? We need to pay people. Why do we need procurement? We need to buy desks. Even before we license. Then there's Directorate of Market Supervision and Development. Market Supervision and Development. This speaks to the two or dual mandates of the Commission. Market Supervision and Development. We develop the market. How? We license you. But when we license you, we supervise you. How do we supervise you? We inspect you. And we also receive complaints. We receive complaints. How do we supervise you? We investigate. And if we find something wrong, what do? We take enforcement action. You get that, huh? Then, we also have committees within the board. So the board is made up of different committees, which range from Market Transactions Committee, there's the Enforcement Committee, and the Procurement Committee. So in terms of the Market Transactions Committee, this is the committee that approves new securities products. As you hear when ELSA comes up, how we do this. Then again, we've got the Licensing Committee, which looks at licenses. When a person is applying for a license, that license is looked at by a committee called the Licensing Committee before it goes to the court. Then we also have specialized units. Because certain things will be so specialized and they require certain expertise. Somebody asked about sustainable development. So you hear something about a unit called the Green Finance Unit. So those are specialized things. Green Finance Unit. So somebody to come up and tell you more about what that unit does. Next slide. That basically just summarizes whatever we talked about. What securities laws are, being a government agency, then what our mandate is there, investor protection, ensuring that there's no systemic risk, orderly growth, fairness, transparency, and efficiency. Then, yeah, how we undertake our work through committees, directorates, and specialized units. I guess the next slide should be on questions.
Thank you, Tom, for that wonderful insight presentation. I take it you've learned something. So we now know where we're coming from, where we're doing our mandate as SEC and why SEC exists, right? Coming from that broad picture and now into the functions. So before we get there, let's get to questions. At least minimum 3 questions for Tom, maximum rather. We're trying to catch up on time. Questions? Yes, my dear. Your name, this is who you're coming from. You were not there when we introduced ourselves. That's why I'm asking you to do that.
I am Victoria Wambo, my PhD student at the University of studying economics. So my question is pretty simple. How long does it take to get a license and the procedure?
Okay, for that one I'll preempt. You will be addressed when the person making the presentation under supervision comes. They will talk about the licensing process, okay? Next question. Yes?
So you talked about asking the right questions when you're dealing with the broker. But in a situation where, let's say, this broker is registered with SEC and is well known, but he happens to scam the person. So how does the legal part of SEC deal with this? Because this broker is well known and so on and forth, and he happens to scam the person.
I can take.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's very practically possible because you may not be aware that that is what they are doing. But if you are scammed in that way, the best you can do is probably go to the company with the commission, then we are going to investigate. Remember, it's happening out there and we don't know what they told you, what they scammed you. For instance, if they use the SEC license to promote a product that they are not supposed to promote. Remember, under the SEC Act or securities regulations or laws, they are not supposed to use a SEC license for any other purpose apart from that for which it was issued out. If you do that, that becomes securities fraud. But first thing to know that the securities fraud, we need to investigate and ascertain what actually happened.
Yes?
So in a scenario whereby the commercial bank begins construction, if it fails to pay back its investors, we say caveat is insurance and bindings investors.
So, in terms of the universe of the Service Financial Markets, CEO, in his introductory remarks, spoke about that. I also tried to talk about that. So if you're talking about a commercial bank, that goes and in which space do you think that matter is? Who do you think is going to have the jurisdiction or mandate to do with that matter? Can we ask it differently? If you invested in a company to buy shares, but you've never received shares, where do you go? Why? Because shares are security. If you had insured your motor vehicle, yeah, with X, you had an accident, you've been paying premiums. When you go to claim, they refuse to indemnify you. Where do you go?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a matter that involves what? Insurance. You've been contributing to a pension fund. You stopped working. You go to claim, you can't keep your pension. Or they give you a patient, but you're not up with the computation. Where do you go? Huh? Where do you go? Pension and Insurance Authority. Securities. Bank of Zambia. Bank of Zambia regulates the money markets. Securities and Exchange Commission regulates the securities industry. That you refer as what? You also refer to as what? Capital markets. Pensions and Insurance Authority regulates pension funds and the insurance industry. Then that summarizes the regulations of Zambia's financial markets and what they ought to. Then somebody asked about how long does it take to process a license. So under the Securities Act, there is a provision which requires that a license must be processed within a period of 90 days. But we try to do that within that period. So basically it's about at least 3 months. But the licenses are issued before that time. Francis will come and tell you more about that. It comes from the department that does that.
We only wanted 3 questions.
Okay, just allow him.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Securities Act. My question is, how does it address international corporations, foreign regulators, for cross-border securities trading?
Okay. So the Securities Act has got enabling provisions that allows us to cooperate with other foreign regulatory bodies and securities. In particular, there is a provision called Section 165, which allows us to cooperate with other securities commission in other jurisdictions. For instance, in Zambia, where there are SEC Zambia. In the US, there's US SEC. South Africa also has FSP. Tanzania has got SEC Tanzania, and other countries around. So if you need anything here, and if that thing maybe it's in South Africa or whatever it is, I'm able to write to them to give you that information. Then again, by being a member of ISCO, we're able to cooperate with other international bodies that regulate the securities industry. So those are the benefits that we get by being a member of that international body. So I have to go.
Okay. How is it going so far? It's interesting? Let me ask you a question. What's the one thing that you discovered from Tom's presentation? Or just what have you discovered that is what you didn't know? Just one. All of you here are coming from business school, right? So have we now just figured out that you can be outside the business school and still get a career at SEC or a job at SEC, right? You've discovered that there's law. So there are lawyers here. So even lawyers can get employed in the securities market. Okay? Yeah, I just thought I mentioned that. So that's a career opportunity. So you can tell your friends that even the legal people, the lawyers, they can also come to SEC. Right? Yeah. Okay, our next presentation is going to talk about, it's coming from the Market Supervision Department. In his presentation, Tom mentioned that we have a common, our core mandate is investor protection and education, right? What did you say? Yeah. And then there's a department called DMSD, Directorate of Supervision and Development, Market Development and Supervision, okay? So the way we've done it here, that unit has been split. The supervision side and there's a market development side. So he's coming from the supervision side. So he's going to take us through what they do in the department, okay? Father Francis, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Don't I look like you? I look like a student. I'm a student. Okay, my name is Francis. I'm coming from Market Supervision. I was already alluded to by Chair. My work is pretty much easy. To make a presentation.
Sorry, just as a way of interest to the students, could you tell us how you found yourself at the commission?
Oh, really?
Yes, that would be
I think that must be more interesting than
Yes.
the presentation. Okay, as Chair said, I joined the commission in 2023 as graduate trainee. So usually you would see these adverts that would come out when SEC is looking for graduate trainees to join the commission. It's usually merited distinction. It's usually merited.
So we had.
So work hard. That's the point of work hard. So yeah, I joined in 2023 as graduate trainee, and I think I did about 10 months. After 10 months, there was opening, and apparently in supervision as inspector. So we pretty much can relate. You two can join us very soon, and we'll be glad. So the point is work hard.
Yeah.
Work hard.
Okay.
That's interesting, right? Maybe we can end here.
Yeah.
My presentation is pretty much simple. I'll just give you an introduction, statement minutes, overview of the Zambian financial sector, who will regulate, and then we finally look at the products that are found in the capital market so that you have a broader perspective of what we do and what we talk about, and consequently what we regulate. This has already been said, but our vision is to become a dynamic regulator of the capital market that is a fair destination for investment. And our mission is to safeguard the interests of the investors and promote the growth of capital markets for individuals as well as national prosperity. Spoke about the mandate, the dual mandate that my previous speaker talked about, market development as well as investor protection. I'm coming from a department called the Directorate of Market Supervision, where the ones who supervise the market so that the market remains efficient and transparent. What do we then do as market supervision? So we license institutions that operate in the capital markets. There was a question, how long does it take for one to apply for a license and response? So our act is very clear. If you apply, at the day you submit the full application, meaning all your documents are in order. And for example, you want to get a dealer's license, an investment advisor's license. At the point you submit all your documents and they are in full and the commission gets, we start counting. It's 90 days. So within 90 days, they're supposed to hear from us. That clear? We're following? So why do probably we're asking ourselves why do we do license? Like my previous colleague stated, we don't want fraudulent activities. People with criminal activities joining the market, people who have been doing money laundering joining the market. We don't want, and that's why this process becomes very critical, licensing. Because whatever you submit, I can assure you, we scrutinize and we rate, we define it, so that we know the person who will give the license. That's our job. So if you've got criminal activities, unfortunately, it becomes very difficult. We can't grant you a license. So that's what we do. Apart from that, these institutions that we license, being in the market supervision department, we do conduct inspections. We don't just give you a license and you see your whole back. No, we have to know what you're doing with that license and follow it. So we do what we call inspections. So these inspections take a twofold approach. One is an on-site inspection, the other one is an off-site inspection. On-site inspection, the term itself, will go there physically to visit the licensing. For example, we go to APSA, you collect a license, we come for inspection. We go to the premises, that's on-site inspection. We want to see how we're conducting the business. Is it in line with securities business? Off-site inspections, they are here. You can be sending documents like financial statements, and financial, and we can be reviewing those documents off-site on our desks. So we do inspections. Surveillance, critical component in the market. We know that there are people out there who want to circumvent the licensing procedure and start operating without the license. But I can assure you, our team here has got a surveillance team and we survey the market. Why? We do not want inefficiency in the market. The market should be transparent. Everyone who's working there should have a license. Those Ponzi schemes you see, we know we survey. We speak, some of them talked about capture. So warning as well, surveillance, guys, let us do what we are supposed to do right now. So we survey the market to see what is happening and what kind of activities can be market. So if you are conducting securities business and you don't have a license, this will catch you. Surveillance. Compliance, very key. We do compliance, and now we've taken the risk-based approach to compliance. So once we issue a license to an entity or an individual, there are some requirements that you're supposed to meet. And you've got some of the obligations that you're supposed to submit. Therefore, you have to be compliant. Compliance also comes to the Securities Act. You have to be compliant. So if for example, your financial year end is 31st December 2024, we know that according to the Companies Act, after 90 days, you're supposed to submit your financials, publish your financials. So for us as a commission, we have to be compliant. So as we hit 31st March, if you haven't submitted, no, it's okay. But after 24 hours, first come 1st April, you're not being compliant. Remember, this is an information-driven market. So what you publish, the information you have, is critical for investors to make decisions. Compliance becomes critical. Complaints, we do handle complaints. If you have a complaint, if you are being unfairly treated, you can actually bring forth that complaint to the commission, the complaints team that handles complaints to ensure that our investors are protected, as this is one of our core complaints. We also do market analysis where we analyze what is happening in the markets. For example, the tariffs that Trump has imposed, what's the impact on the market? It's our duty as analysts to analyze, as this was TMSD. So do an investigation, but with an asterisk there, because the large component is done by the DEOS team. The market development team, of course, is on financial inclusion, financial education, product development. As my colleague earlier on spoke about, investor protection becomes key from our department, all the investors, because complaints come to us. If there are any complaints, they will come to us and we will deal with that. We want this market to be fair, efficient, and transparent. As our department, we want to reduce systemic risk. And by systemic risk, I guess we all understand by now what systemic risk is. It has got a ripple effect. Let's say downfall of one institution can affect other institutions. That's constantly in terms of production. Too many questions about if I do this, which regulator should I go to? But this is what happens here. We've got 3 financial sector regulators. The Central Bank, the Bank of Zambia, in charge of banks and non-bank financial institutions. We've got the Pensions and Insurance Authority, in charge of pensions and insurance. And we've got the Securities and Exchange Commission, us who are in charge of capital markets in Zambia. This is basically what happens. In the money markets, it's under the Central Bank. Capital markets is under the Securities and Exchange Commission. Pensions and insurance authority is under. Pensions and insurance is under the Pensions and Insurance Authority. So the money market is being regulated by the Bank of Zambia, the capital markets by SEC, and the pensions and insurance by the Pensions and Insurance Authority. How then does our market look like? These are the players in the market that we have. So we call them capital market operators, CMOs. So there are different CMOs, as you can see. There are dealers, these dealers, bank dealers, fund managers, stock brokers, dealers representing licensed representatives, custodians, as well as other dealers. In terms of issuers, we've got institutions that are listed. Those are the entities that we call issuers. So we've got listed companies. The one you see trading on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. We've got quoted companies. Quoted companies are those institutions who have their securities registered with the commission, but they are probably in the pipeline of being listed. So there are also quoted companies there. And then we've got corporate bond issuers, for example. One of the recent corporate bond issuers, I think that we call it is CEC. We've got financial market infrastructures. So these financial market infrastructures, we're talking about the securities exchange, the Lusaka Securities Exchange, and the clearing etc. We've got authorized funds. And here we are talking about collective investment schemes, the CIS, we're talking about venture capital, private equity, I'll talk about later. We've got the credit rating agencies, the share transfer agents, we've got the regulatory sandbox. If you have got a brilliant idea, confident technology, this is yours. You come up with a product and we see then if it fits into the security business, then we can review that and product. These are the four regulate or institutions who regulate exchanges, listed entities, protectors, other issuers, brokers, dealers, ESG securities, central securities deposits, investment advisors, collective investment schemes, so on and so on. This is key capital markets products for you to understand, because basically our work is anchored on this. So we've got stocks, or we call them shares. So as an individual and as an institution, you can be part of the company. So you can own shares in that company. And this is what we're referring to as stocks. So you can go through a broker, even as at an individual level, you engage the broker and see the listed entities, probably guide you because they are licensed, give you information. But of course, the decision lies with you. So you can go there and invest in stocks. How then do you make money through stocks? Or how do you make a profit through stocks? There are two ways. So you can get a yield in stocks through one, what is called a dividend, and the other one is called capital gain. We understand what a capital gain is. We don't. Capital gain. Yeah. So what happens is that, for example, you buy shares in Chilanga Cement. They're fetching at 10 kwacha today, right? Then the share price increases from 10 kwacha to, let's say, 15 kwacha, right? So you've seen that gain. The shares that you bought at 10, you can actually sell them at 15, but you bought them at 10. So that 5 kwacha is capital gain. Yeah, then we've got the dividend. So companies, according to their dividend policies, would then declare what are known as dividends at the end of their financial year. So they would say we have declared the dividend of 2 kwacha per share. Meaning, if you have got 20,000 shares, and then in, for example, Chilapa, it was 20,000 shares, and then they declare a dividend of 2%. How much are you going to get? Simple basic arithmetic. Yeah? How much are you going to get? 20,000 shares, they declare a dividend. You're multiplying, right? The number of shares times the dividend amount. So this is what happens. So we've got bonds. So for government bonds, the government is coming through the central bank, is coming to the market, looking for funds, looking for money, and they use the central bank. So when the central bank first comes to the market, so that is a primary market. So the central bank deals with the primary market, then we as Securities and Exchange Commission deals with the secondary market. So the first time the bonds are being issued, that is in the primary market, right? It's done by the central bank. Then there could be instances, for example, my colleague here buys a bond, let's say 5-year bond, right? Maybe it's in its third year before maturity, and he's got some liquidity pressure. Sell off that bond, right? And in selling that bond, since it is not the first time that transaction then occurs in the secondary market, and that is what secondary is. This is how bonds operate. So in terms of bonds, you can receive the coupon payments semi-annually, and also I think my colleague is going to talk about the corporate bonds from market transactions, side. So currently bonds are issued at par, not at discount. So the first value of the bond, if for example you want to invest in a government bond, the minimum amount is 1,000. You've got a 10,000 and you want to invest in 10,000. So at a discount issuance kind of method, right, you'll find that you buy that same bond, which you're buying at 10,000, maybe you buy it at 9,000. That is at a discount issuance, right? But then this time it's being issued at par. So if it is 10,000, you are paying 10,000. So it's not a discount. Right? How we follow?
Yes.
That's how bonds operate. But in terms of bonds, you can also sell them either at par or premium, that is above the price at which you bought the bond. So if you bought it at 10,000, you can sell it at 11,000. Or you can sell it at par at 10,000 or at 9,000. That is in the secondary market. That is what happens when it comes to bonds. We've got collective investment schemes. So collective investment schemes and CISs and other funds, we're referring to any one of you are made of mutual funds, unit trust. Probably are going to learn more about it. If some of you are going to do investment analysis and portfolio management, we're going to learn about it. So for us, we call them collective investment schemes as CISs. So under the CISs, investors will invest indirectly. What do we mean by indirectly? So there's a person or an entity, before a person there is an entity, a fund management company. This fund management company appoints an individual called a fund manager. So what this fund manager does is they'll pull funds from different investors. For example, you put a 500, you put 1,800, whatever. So this fund manager gets the funds, right, and then invests on behalf. It has got its own benefits. One of the benefits is maybe if I put a lot of funds, right, I'm going to have a lot of funds and I can be able to negotiate the rate of return. Right? I'll be like, okay, if I'm giving you my money, why should you give me 10%? Give me 12%. Right? So you got that advantage. So we've got such kind of products in the capital markets. And the players who conduct all these kind of activities in the capital markets are listed, are actually on our website. The SEC website. Then we've got other services that you find in the capital market space. What kind of services are we talking about? We've got, for example, investment advice services. So they are licensed investment advisors that we have in the market. So not everyone can give you investment advice. And if you're doing that, it's such a problem. You need to be licensed by the commission. And there are some conditions attached to that. So for example, yes, you can have a degree or a master's, whatever, but there are some other professional papers, certifications that you need to have for us to be able to grant you an investment advisor's license, for you to be able to provide that advice market. So pretty much, this is what happens from our side as supervision, and this is what we do, and these are the products that are found there. We do a lot of things, that's the point. Is what I've explained enough? Maybe it is enough, but there are a lot of things. But due to time, I'll end here. So thank you very much for your attention. Clarifications. Also not questions like which university did you attend? And now a lot of questions.
Thank you. So my question is, what activities do you actually do to survey the market to catch people who are operating without a license?
There are a lot of surveillance tools that we use to survey the market. And those tools actually help us. Should I mention the tools?
Yes.
No, you know them. No. But yeah, just know there are some surveillance tools that we use to survey. Excellent. No.
Unfortunately, I don't think you can get into details of surveillance because it's a matter of security. So it's not for public information, but it's true that we do take time to watch the market and see what's going on. So that we monitor for wrongdoing about it. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask, other than the advisory license, what other licenses does SEC offer? And I think I also want to know what the criteria is. You can elaborate what the criteria is that SEC uses when considering one eligible to get a license.
Very good question. So there are quite a number of licenses that we issue. As you alluded to, there is an investment advisor's license. Then we also issue what is called a dealer's license. So for dealer's license, meaning you'll be handling people's funds, public funds, right? So all these licenses that we then issue to whichever particular sector or area that we would have to venture in has got its own criteria. So there's like a checklist on our website. You can actually do that. If you want to be a dealer, if you want a dealer's license, so there's a checklist. Oh, you need to have audited financial statements, or you need to have the auditors appointed, you need to have proof of residence, what. Not until all those are met. Then there's also a dealer's representative license. Because the dealer's license is issued to a company or institution, but that institution or company needs to have their representatives, right? So if we issue a dealer's license, for example, to Indus Bank, they are trading in securities, right? It's not the company that is going to be trading, it's the individuals. So individuals are then required also to be licensed. Those are the individuals who receive what is called a dealer's representative license. So all these licenses that we issue have got their own checklists. If you don't meet them, you don't give you. What's the problem?
Yes,
my colleague Thomas will chip in. What's the difference between surveillance and investigation?
So, they are both fact-finding tools or mechanisms that we use to ascertain whether there's been a contravention of the securities regulatory framework. So in terms of the surveillance, we are just probably observing what is happening in the market. We say what in the market, then we pick out something. Then investigations will also encompass an aspect of surveillance. So basically, they're just tools which probably can be used as synonymous. Maybe inspection, surveillance, and investigation, those are some of the tools that are used to supervise the market, to watch out for what is happening in the market. That's how we're able to identify or pick out things that are happening in the market as we supervise the market. Then should we find something wrong, then we do take enforcement action that I spoke about and probably impose a number of sanctions.
Just to add, I think just from the teams themselves, we can tell that surveillance is ongoing, and from the surveillance you can pick what to investigate. I'm thinking not everything will have a recourse or will cause the commission to spend resources for investigation. Of course, investigation trying to drill down what is happening in this aspect or this offering in the market, find out who's the one behind this, and very many other aspects which they do as they are undertaking the investigation. Unless you find out more, in simple terms, you're trying to find out more, and also the implications and so on. So that will go into investigation. But surveillance is ongoing. Even now, you can be on the internet, have some cues, somebody send an inquiry and so on. All that is part of surveillance.
Or
Any other question? The last one?
You mentioned investment advisors and services. So personally, for me, this is the first time hearing about the investment advisors. So I wanted to find out, where do you find, do we always have to come to say for the banks or the banks? Then since it's a service, like it's investment advising and stuff, do you have to pay? Or is it a situation where I can just walk in here any day and talk to this person and they let me know what investment opportunities I have, or do I have to look at investments and pay for this service? So those are my questions.
thank you very much for your wonderful questions. When you check on our website, you find a list of investment advisors, one license. I don't know if you've ever come across of people who are like learning how to invest in government bonds, lessons you pay, is it 150? Those people provide those services, right? They are providing an investment advice, right? So before they do that, they need to find out. Actually, they can even like to be. And you see the bad part of ignorance, if you don't know, you would actually even invest in something. So they are there, and the institutions that is licensed, and also individuals that is licensed. And here, when you go there, they've got their own charges that they make for provide those services. The institutions can survive with that. Thank you. I wish you all the best, and see you soon, some of you. As it is.
Francis, how was that? How was it?
Estamos now.
So yeah, so it was interesting, right? So we now know what we do from the market supervision side. Okay. The next presentation is from the market development side. So we also, so far it sounds like we are very, very serious side. We're just doing serious things. There are lawyers there, we're busy doing investigation, enforcement, then the supervision, they are monitoring the market. Now let's get to the fun bit. We also do fun things at SEC. Okay? So we're now going to have a presentation from market development. That's it. Over. And to us. Where did you like my presentation?
Imak.
Where did you go? Francis, who was bringing you? Who's connected?
Did you ask Francis questions?
They didn't.
They did.
They didn't.
He's not satisfied. He wants more.
Expected questions like how do you price a bond?
There were questions ongoing as the presentation was going. Or is it him who asked? Someone asked the difference between investigation and surveillance. That's all. But expectations were made because a lot of expectations were around the inspection. Surveillance. I remember that. Ask me, I like to be interactive, so you should be asking me. Ask as much as you can. So, this is market development. First of all, my name is Bingase Makumba. I am, if you would like to know what I've done to take up this job, I've got a postgraduate diploma in marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, UK. And then I've studied at the University of Zambia, market development and public administration. So I understand the Zambian economy and what it takes to develop. At least I have a semblance of what it takes through my studies. And I understand how public administration is such as the SEC. You know, when you're in the public, you are working for the public, the economy. Public admin being the government. Yeah. So how does that administration undertake its role in order to develop the market? So it matters like that. And then also, of course, the other courses I've done to help me understand the securities market. There's various courses that we do right on the job. Of course, also some master's programs and so on. So in market development, you heard that we are, as said, we have a dual mandate to develop the market and also to ensure that it is well supervised. So we develop the market to ensure that it is growing, and it is actually growing in an environment that is safe for investors. That is where you find the supervision of the ambit under the Securities Act. We have to develop this market so that it makes sense for users of the market. And the users are the players in the market include the issuers, or the business side, or the providers of the services, as well as the investors who are going to take up the investment products to benefit them. So both sides, we have the issuers who are those who need the capital for production in their companies. They need capital, so that's why we are capital markets. And we have savers who need investment products. So the market then brings them together. The market, in the middle, we have intermediaries, different characters in the market, or the structure of the market is that there are those who are helping bring together, those who have excess funds, and those who are in need of the funds. So there's mobilization taking place, mobilization of funds from where it is in excess to where it is actually needed in the productive sector. And we know that unless an economy is productive, it cannot grow, and it cannot grow sustainably. So that sustainability is now the interest of the government, because an economy has to grow. There's now what we call, if I remember in my studies, what we call I've forgotten the term, but it is the trickle downs. Yeah, I think we used to use that word. The trickle down effect of what you are doing in your sector. How is it trickling down to the economy and to the people themselves? And it's only the people who are going to make a nation wealthy. If themselves are wealthy, they are going to have money to save, and that savings, those savings, can now be mobilized to go into the productive sector. I think that's how the economy is working, the productive cycle. So it is now us as SERC to ensure that this sector is operating efficiently and safely, because money can attract fraud. Okay, so I think we'll find all that in the following slides. I think my colleague from legal did talk extensively about the functions of the commission. Now, market development in particular picks these 4 functions to implement. And this is speaking to Section 9(1) of the Act. Says the commission shall create and promote conditions in the capital markets aimed at ensuring an orderly growth, integrity, and development of the capital markets. Number 2, it will encourage the development of securities and securities exchanges. These are relevant structures in the market that the market cannot do without. Okay, structures such as the securities exchange. This is now the market which is bringing together the households and also the users of the capital, or those who are in need of the capital. And it encourages the increased use of such exchanges. There's no need to have an exchange or the structures without their use. So in market development, we have now to make aware to the market or those who are in need of these services, the availability of the opportunity, and just do promotional kind of, that is why you see my marketing come in, because we're now talking about making awareness and promoting the usage of these services that the SEC as regulator has put in place, or has encouraged to put in place. The market is being enabled. We don't like saying facilitating. CEO says we are not facilitating, we are enabling a market, and that is very correct, because we just ensure that these things are in place, and it's a mandate given by the government. So we understand what structures need to be in place, but we need to make people aware that there's this availability, and also investors, because you will see later that investors are not only at you and me level, they are big institutional investors who want to ensure that the funds that they are going to invest in behalf of others are being applied in a safe environment. And so that's where the regulation comes in. Okay, so when we communicate this, that there's a market, investors have the signal that this environment understands what it is doing, and it has applied safeguard measures to secure the money of these investors. Because some institutions are just collecting and then they invest on behalf of others. They are called institutional investors. Then the Section 9(2)(r) says we provide, promote, or otherwise support financial education, awareness, and confidence with regard to financial products, institutions, and services. So awareness is just awareness. There's in this market, there's presence of fund managers, and fund managers are here to offer you opportunities to save your money. This is how it is done. And then, because we are regulators and we're looking after a number of fund managers, we won't say go and put your money in that fund manager. No, you don't do that. As a regulator, you create a fair playing ground. So we just say, look, maybe this is the list that we can do. We can put up a list on our website, and then we encourage you to undertake your due diligence. You have to know what questions to ask the fund manager until you find something that suits your objectives for investing. Okay, and I hope I'm talking to people who have an appetite for investing already. Because next you ask me who is eligible to invest, and I'm going to tell you it's you. And then you ask me when must I start investing, I will say yesterday. If you didn't, the best is now. Okay? Anybody can save under different kinds of products that suits different people. That's why you say ask and ask until you find that one fund manager, or if you want to invest in shares, you want to invest in bonds, you will be told that you can actually start investing with 1,000, in shares even less. In collective investment schemes, which have been talked about already, even with the 250 you can start. Okay? So, but how must you get to the 250 first? You can invest in the bank or in your piggy bank if you want, as long as it is safe, or in your other. Whereas as long as you keep your savings safe, and then now you will start investing. So there goes the difference between saving and investing. You save, you invest, you turn out more for your income or for your savings. You invest to apply your savings for something like investing. Okay. So I hope I will not preempt your questions, but you can ask some. I know you have more and more. Prescribe. Then we have under section 92S, market development, to prescribe certification standards and accreditation for licensees. So here, we know as a regulator, we benchmark other markets. We also understand what kind of certifications are required, and sometimes we go looking in other markets, like I said, benchmarking, and prescribe for our market operators and licensees, or those people, actual people like you, who are going to be working in the market, what qualifications they must have or possess in order to do to undertake the services. For example, an investment advisor is just an individual, can be an individual, who is going to approach clients, or clients who approach them. They need to advise them accordingly. They need to have certain expertise and must not go beyond things like misadvising. There's a term as misadvising, and sometimes because of somebody who does not have the capacity, or does not have the skill, or does not understand what they are doing, they can promote any product for as long as they make a sale. Here in this market, we don't want such professionals, because money is factual, things are factual. You can lose, you can. So you must ensure that, we must ensure that we only license people who have clients' interest in their money. Remember, we are protecting investors in the capital markets. So there's rigorous check on such individuals to ensure that capacity is built in the market, and also as a firm. So a firm will not be licensed until, they will not license these guys until they know that they have the right professionals, and they have the right funds, they have the right amount of capacity. Funds are part of the capacity. So there's what they call capital adequacy. They also now must look at the professionals themselves, different things that make a market operator eligible to act in the market, or to play in the market. What are the core market development activities that we undertake? We have financial inclusion. I'm sure you have heard about the adage that says we leave no one behind. We want everyone to be financially included. Like I told you, there's also an ultra motive by the government. Wealth only comes through people. You can have a developed country, but I don't know whether you can even achieve development without wealthy people, because money comes through their activities. I think you can get stuck somewhere if you're just developing your macro. You need now to develop everyone at their levels. I'm sure my colleagues in development studies can explain it very well. We have financial education. It is very difficult to understand a financial product or anything if they are not educated. So it's a precursor to financial inclusion. To be financially included, you need to have at least a good understanding of what financial concepts are all about, what financial products, their offerings, the do's and don'ts, and have the capacity also to actually walk to an institution and ask the questions, and also uptake becomes very important. You may know everything, you may have the capacity to write, but if you cannot make a decision or take up that product, then you will remain financially excluded. So financial education is very important. It helps improve the confidence of people to make financial decisions that can make them well off or better off, or financially healthy. Those are things: financial literacy, financial health, financial well-being, and such are interchangeable, but very important to achieve financial inclusion. Also bringing out financial transactions out of the informal sector into the formal sector becomes also very important. So how products are distributed to those who are financially excluded is very important. Remember, there's an act of mobilizing funds. So funds are mobilized on formal markets. So if funds are just in the black market, it's very difficult to account for it even as a nation. How much of savings or how much is the market contributing to the gross domestic product of the country, unless you achieve financial inclusion, bring them into the formal sector. They become bankable. They start banking, and through the banking, you can now accumulate savings and account for them. We have stakeholder management. You are our stakeholders who manage to choose market development. You came through the market development team because you are critical stakeholders. So while you were talking to the rest of the SEC, you are talking to everyone in SEC, you had to go through someone. And this is the market development team which manages the different stakeholders. Not entirely, but to do with especially coming through and to do with market development anyway, skills development, capacity. This is part of capacity building of the market. Okay. And so on anyway. And also to do with educational programs, capacity building, it has to be through market development. Then we have investor education. We differentiate financial education with investor education because these ones are special, they are already invested. They are either potential, they are also current ones. They need a certain set of skills to help them navigate what is happening in their investment or with their investments. If, for example, you already have invested in shares, what must you do and not do? To grow, or what will inhibit you from growing? Sometimes people don't know. They simply start and imagine that, for example, shares will keep on growing on their own. Some have even believed that by not cashing their dividend, somehow their shares will be growing. There are a lot of people who have not cashed their dividend thinking that the shares will grow automatically. But they don't until you instruct your broker to buy more shares. Or you'll have made an agreement with your broker that when my dividend comes, let it be channeled. I know you make some special arrangements. Always buy from me some more. If they do that, I'm not so sure, but it's something that can be agreed with your broker. But usually it has to take you to act. Remember what we said about financial education? You must act. You must have the capacity to act. So you need to know how to act. Somebody asked, how can I undertake to invest? So you need all that knowledge. That whenever I have some more money and I want more shares, if it's more of the same shares or I want to diversify, I need to instruct my broker. And how must I do it? You need to know all those steps. So that is investor education. That is what is involved. Also, to protect your investments. There's fraud. Somebody spoke about fraud, and Bill Thomas and everyone else. part of what we are doing is to ensure that you are not defrauded, most of it. So, but you are the first line of protection is yourself. Nobody will go and approach SEC or an institution. They approach people and ask for them to invest in something. So how must you protect yourself? And they are very convincing. A fraudster is very convincing. That's a profession by itself. And they don't care who you are, whether it's your last amount of money or your money for tuition. They don't care. I'm sure some of you have stories to tell. Even your friend can defraud because somebody else maybe recruited them and dangled the carrot, and they are recruited to tell the story to another person until everything starts falling down, especially with pyramid schemes, isn't it? The first few will gain, it will look good, but the more you recruit, and some of you are very good at recruiting, you can even recruit your parents. Just do this. My friend did this. Me, I got. So now I need 5 other people. After that 5, you didn't start recruiting for those people, and the pyramid is just growing. I know even in school. Stop it. If you are one of them. So maybe you must, no, but you made it wrong. You must have, and that's the truth. Scams, fraudsters don't have that conscience. For them, as long as they are making it. Others, they are on your own. Product development. Sorry, we have a very important one there. Product development. It's not all products which are suitable for everyone. We have what are known as vanilla products, the shares, the bonds, and CIS, for example. They are plain vanilla products, but as we are trying to dig down into financial inclusion, we have discovered that not all products are suitable for everyone, and some may not even have access, especially in capital markets. A bit of complex in our markets keeps some people away. So we are trying to, and there's a rising of what are known as alternative financing products, crowdfunding, peer lending, and so on. All those are called innovative products. Innovative financial products are coming up, and we are embracing them because we see that this is the way that people can get included in our markets. Sometimes, especially way back, you could only invest in the market, for example, in bonds, if you had a 30,000 capital. So that is automatically killing off or excluding a lot of participants. But can we have a bond that can be broken down to 10 quarter or whatever? Can somebody do that? That is being innovative, and in many markets that has been done. So in product development, it's all about ensuring that there's the right set of products in the market that can actually serve the interests of different people in our market. And also ensuring that those products which are there or those that are coming have the frameworks, the regulatory frameworks, they are supported structurally so that even as the inspections or investigations is doing their work, it is aligned to some standard of sorts, so that even regulation is done on a fair ground, and there's recourse to what is wrong, what is right. So there's recourse to the law, both on the regulator and on the regulator to the regulated. Because the regulated can actually sue the regulator based on the framework that was available. Okay, so it's protection. Capacity, we have talked about it. It's ensuring that there's the right skills in the market. So SEC to actually sort of promote or subscribe, certain standards of your educational standards or professional standards that are right for professionals working in the market. And this is across the market. Even for ourselves as regulators, we need to be skilled. We have the intermediaries that need skilling for what they do. Even the investors themselves need to understand all those things I've been explaining. The investor has to understand how to go about investing, taking out the product, otherwise the market cannot grow. So that is market for capacity. And then research is all these things, within what is right for our country, what are the numbers that we need to achieve, what is the pricing levels that is suitable for certain products, and many other kind of data sets that we need to inform investors, especially those who are investors coming from other markets come with certain sophistication. They need a lot of information before they can bring their funds into our market. We may not always satisfy the capacity capital needs, so we look to the outsiders to bring their money. FDI is all part of foreign direct investment. So we need to have data. So overall, we protect investors in the capital markets. Everything that SEC does is for protecting investors in the capital markets. I think it is quite safe to end there, but I'll just show you a few things that we are doing. Under financial education, we have the target groups. I'm sure you'll be happy to see yourself there. We have children. How are we affecting the children? How are we ensuring that they are financially educated in school curriculum? The school curriculum is now, maybe, I think it could have been part of the curriculum that's already teaching financial education. As me, I wasn't. Maybe even you not as it wasn't as integrated, but now it is. It's compulsory from primary school to grade 9. That's why we even have a business studies. We don't have a subject called financial education on its own. So concepts are just being integrated in the existing subjects. Okay? Because it would be too onerous. They refuse that the education having a different subject. We are trying to get even into university level courses, but so far what we do is supplementary work. A lot of supplements have challenges, and I think I'll show you. We do have school challenges. We open up essay competitions so that we can interest you in researching on matters that are in the financial sector. So that way we hope that we can achieve some financial education through interest. And then we have the youth yourselves. We are very, as said, we are very big on youth education. And of course, it's still at voluntary level. In fact, we are actually on the committee. We are actually secretariat of the committee under the National Strategy on Financial Education, which is overseeing the youth as a target. Then the other target group is adults and the SMEs. So all these can be broken down into, like, children are usually children in school because the education in Zambia is compulsory. Sorry, yeah, so then youth, there's youth in school, youth in out of school, because we know not everyone. We know we are a public institution, so we're interested in everyone. And adults, same thing, adults in working, those who are working and those who are not working. The MSMEs are the small and medium enterprises. The rest, you go to and will share this. Is it commercial? Market development projects, we have many market development projects. We just launched Shimano Ministries, where it's a movie, a series of movies that are talking about different aspects of investor education. We have the Sandbox Regulatory Framework is something that tries to capture financial technology innovative products I talked about earlier, and those which are not regulated. So they don't have regulatory frameworks, but we know that they're in use and we need to understand them. They need to operate in a safe environment so that we ensure that we still protect those who are using the same products. So, and after we see how they are working and maybe alongside the regulatory framework, we then, they'll then become, after a period of maybe 1 year, they become either regulated or they are let to operate under a certain foresight of oversight of regulation. Yes, we also have a financial literacy week. It's like a project which brings together the entire financial sector. So the regulators, the three regulators who were mentioned earlier, PIA and BOS and SAFE, come together to undertake intensive campaigns to improve the financial literacy levels. At the moment, they're very low. We have adults at financial literacy level of only 23.6% at the moment in the country. So we are trying to increase that, and the reasons I've given: a financial literate country will perform and contribute to economic development better. Investor awareness, I think I talked about it. When you are investing or you want to invest, you need a certain set of skills, and that we also undertake an intensive awareness week, a campaign in October, usually in the first week of October every year. We do some you saw somebody, you know? Yes.
Oh, from Lungoshi, yes.
Ah, okay. Oh, lovely. So we do these things, and last year, this is Lungoshi, right?
Yeah.
Yes. We undertook, this was a national capital markets event. I told you we are big on youth. Look out for what we are doing. We just closed the next competition. It wasn't so great in terms of participation, but I can tell you everyone who wrote an essay is a winner. Just because they researched on this investment basics. It's a skill you need to have. No matter what you become, doctor, engineer, or what, you need investor education. You need financial education for yourself and your family. Well, we don't leave anyone out. Community engagements are meant to target those SMEs or people out of school, people out of formal employment. We go to markets and just talk to them about even just avoiding fraud, because that way at least they keep the money safe. We fashion our project, our messages in a way that suits the target environment, so it will be different from the record. Okay, that's our CEO. He is always involved. He's very keen in interacting with the youth. No matter what he's doing, we can ask him any day. If you say, let's go to Bushi or to Popsi BU, he'll come and talk to you, because we know how important the youth is for influencing what happens tomorrow. Yeah, that's our investment education officers standing there. These are town hall meetings. Town halls are just us opening up. We talk to anyone and everyone who is interested. Especially we will market this a flyer like this and tell what topic you want to talk about. And if you're interested, you just join in. It's virtual. Just 1 hour, we talk, you ask questions, and you go. Just ask me, we're here, understand what is investments and how you go about it. If you have any question, ask. We give you that time, at least 1 hour. It happens every Thursday of every month, every last Thursday of the month. And if you're interested, we'll join you to an email. We do email marketing. That email will send you reminders. Okay? And hopefully, once you start getting those reminders, you also recruit others. This is a request. Because one, everybody is included. Everybody needs this education. We have a calendar for the year. This was the last, 2024. Is it current?
No, no, it's not.
This is for last
But,
year, sorry. So, but if you go on our Facebook page, you'll find a calendar for 2025, right?
Yes.
If you need certain topics, you can always ask, request, even special town meeting, you can do it with me. If you want a session maybe for the university, your outreach, you can always ask us and we will be able to tailor-make some. We go to the shows, again, it's just being there for the public. We have institution, anybody we can capture, we are interested in. That is our team. It's a team of a lot of youthful people at the SEC. I hope you also can join us one day. We do panel discussions, there's various things that we do to ensure that we actually reach out to the public, the different publics. We even win prizes because we are big on also the sustainability agenda. We want our market to be able to win funds, to mobilize win funds, because everyone has to partake in the fight against climate change. So we are signaling to the market, the investors, that we have the right framework. We are able to actually manage huge sums of money in our market for winning the world. Those are just some of the regulatory frameworks and guidelines that we have. And like I said, all this is part of the market infrastructure, and it's very important that any developed capital market has these. So we talk about them so that people can see that they can actually, we can manage such funds when they come through these guidelines, and the funds are protected that way. Okay. International regional subscriptions, there's quite a lot. I need John to speak about IOSCO, and I'm sure he explained why. So those are just different membership that we belong to ensure that we are also at international level in terms of what we're doing. Yeah, we talked about this. Capacity we did, right? You cannot just start working in the capital markets and without getting certification for something, especially for specialized work like investment advice. We have master classes. We have this very important document, the capital markets master plan. The capital markets master plan is just a document that is repositioned in the market. We have seen a number of things that have not worked out very well. We are a very small market actually, and we hit certain sort of dead ends in the market. It stagnated for a while, and we had to look at what can we do in order to make this market relevant to economic growth. And so we had to look inward, introspect, through different fora such as in Dallas, including Minister of Finance, the own Minister of Finance stayed with us for 7 days in Livingston as we undertook to break down where are the inhibitors. Why is this market, very important market, but not being utilized very well? So at the end of the day, we came up with a repositioning statement and a repositioning agenda, and we had to do it in a very structured way. We came up with a document. It's a strategy, a 10-year strategy called the Capital Markets Master Plan. I hope you will go out with a copy or even access a soft copy and look at it. It's a big document. It talks about all the markets within the capital markets and the markets that we aspire to have after 10 years. We look at why are we not growing, why do we only have limited number of shares and companies that are issued shares, why are investors not accessing our markets, why there's a lot of things that we have come to have found out that we need, and we have also proposed the changes that need to be done in order to develop our capital. So it's a development plan. It's what we are actually very busy with now. Everything that we are doing is according to the CMMP to reposition the capital markets in Zambia. And we have part of these are campaigns, efforts to grow the market. Some of these things we have been doing, and the list of capital markets concerned. We have the investor education tools. You asked me about tools. This is the game board, do's and don'ts when you're an investor. That is a guide to saving and investing. If you've never actually started investing or saving and investing, that one takes you through. I also hope that you can have a copy of that. It can be a situation where you have started, but maybe you haven't. It will show you everything. If you are highly indebted and you think you have no money, it will show you how to come out of debt. So it's a guide to saving and investing. That one very important, especially even as you launch out into work. You must start right. But sometimes people start wrong and get stuck. Challenges. I think it's not for now. This is about financial inclusion. And look it up. It's also capital markets very, very dismal in terms of our contribution to financial inclusion. We are now at 0.6%. We used to be at 0.3%. We've grown somehow, but it's still very small. So we're doing the CMMP and everything else to see how we can contribute to financial inclusion, but we can have a lot of people getting aided by usage of capital market products. Looks like I wasn't coming to this. Any questions?
Questions, please. Questions. Yes.
Sorry, right. On the ensuring that the market conditions are favorable, I wanted some practical examples of what you're doing now, looking at how bad the economy is and it's a bit unstable. So what are the practical examples of how you're ensuring that the market is favorable? And then what incentives are you doing right now to encourage investors? Example, like you were saying that for potential investors like me, what incentives are you doing to encourage me to invest? Example, in bonds or the stock market.
Okay. So when the first question, conditions favorable for who?
Okay. Mostly, I can say my focus is on the investor side because they are the ones who are affected if the economy is not stable.
Income? Is it income or the market?
For example, with the bonds, now for the interest rates or the prices, in short, the way things are right now, what incentives are there? For example, if the market is failing, which maybe you can make to be favorable for those people who are investing in the market.
So why are we going to do education? Sometimes these conditions can come and favorable. For example, interest rates. They can drop. So we have a topic which is called investor resilience, where we teach investors how they can become resilient, how to read what is happening in the market. So we have things, we teach things like do not invest in one basket. Diversify your investments because it is only real. It's an economic fact, or it's a fact actually that sometimes in certain markets prices will drop and we don't hide about the fact that prices may rise. And we have no control. It's a supply and demand. You guys are directors. Sometimes the economic situation is such that you cannot drive. Even without government is finding it difficult because there's externalities, there's a lot of factors that are influencing what is happening in the economy. So what we teach under investor resilience is that you read what is happening with your investments. If you have to pull out, pull out. If you have to, we say diversify so that you can, maybe in one sector it's failing and you find that in manufacturing, maybe in the financial sector things are failing like they are doing right now. I know interest rates are dropping. But if you invested in shares and you went for a manufacturing sector, maybe that's the time. You've heard that the market had at least 41% in terms of yields as at, I think, last quarter. In the last year, I think those are the results that were reported. 41% now compared to what's happening in the financial markets, where the interest rate is just dropping. So a diversified investor will gain from what is doing in another sector. So those are just investor resilience skills that you need to have. If you think what you are watching is not favoring you or in the long run what, as an investor you need to have that acumen to pull out and take your money somewhere else where you read, you need to be active as an investor. For as long as you're taking care of yourself, you don't have that investment appetite which takes you into loss. For example, products which you don't understand, things like crypto. There are a lot of lies around crypto. There's a lot of scam around the research products, and they almost promise everything is going to happen. Again, you have to be very careful with products that you don't understand how they operate. So sometimes we can't even protect. We do not have the control, the total control of what is happening in the macros and also with people's businesses. You can be invested in shares in Chirangi and what, and the price there just moves against you. But again, we also advise that you understand that over the long run, markets have a way of bouncing back their prices. So it's up to you. What is making you sleep at night and what is not making you sleep? You find out, in fact, engage investment advisors, that's why they are called advisors, to understand what's happening, what's likely to happen to your investments over a period of time. And if you can take it, they will advise you to maybe do the weight. Our markets, especially capital markets, way more over the than with emotions. If you keep looking at the spiking up and down, and you are not comfortable, you might not do very well because there's a way that the market is pretty much an upward prediction over time. So you need to understand, it's not that it's just education. Most of it goes back to how well you understand the investing game, if it's a game or, yeah. There's this one and that. Okay,
So how do you ensure that there's financial inclusion when, for example, the people in rural areas who can't access the information that they're having right now? So how do they access the information? Is in your presentation you showed that as activities, maybe present them in the local languages and everything. But how do they access the right information, looking at maybe the level of education they have? Yes, it's not that good. And then what type of products can you offer to them to suit their financial status? Looking at it's not every product that is suited for everyone.
So sometimes the market, I'll speak as an entire sector. There's of course products that are suitable to certain people and some are not, depending on their state of affairs. Education, first of all, that literacy level is not just for capital markets, it's for the entire financial sector. So there's an acknowledgement that financial literacy levels are very low, and so likely uptake is going to also be affected. That's why we have taken financial content into the syllabus. So we are hoping that maybe 5-10 years from now, different narrative altogether. You have people looking out for financial products themselves because they know about them. So automatic transition happens. Right now, yes, there's challenges, but we have our banking sector introduced mobile banking. It's part of the incentives that are being provided and also the efforts to financially include. So it's a technology that has brought up a spike in financial inclusion levels. In our right now, the rate I think we are 60-something% in terms of financial inclusion, and moving towards 80 because of this technology, mobile banking. So that helps with financial inclusion, and money is somehow. I think we also, when we speak to children in school, we know that they're going to speak to their parents. They're going to help. Most of them have been taught as a secondary arm. The primary agents have taught others. So most of the time is mommy do this, that, or grandma in the villages. Yes. Otherwise, they both left them when it was for education in school. Some of them were not educated, but there are a lot of other efforts, actually, activities through cooperatives, by governments. The CDF. Before you take your CDF, there's financial literacy that is being taught to these people, how to use NGOs. It's multi-sectoral intervention, actually. It's multi-stakeholders. Different stakeholders are taking financial education to the grassroots. There's a lot, actually, a lot of even organizations approach us to partner with them, maybe just to fund them because they're already doing work. So it's just now collecting data about who's doing what and so on. But there are a lot of efforts through organizations, through sports and so on. There's a lot of effort going on right now. For SEC, we are working on these things also. Right now, when somebody says I've got an app, I want to, we always say, before anybody starts using an app, make sure there's a component of education, before they even go into experiments, putting in money and how it works. First teach. So we cannot approve such technologies until we understand that the power offered at least an educational component.
Okay. I think we have run out of time. 12 hours. We're supposed to have ended our tour at 12, and we've got 3 presentations to go. So in the interest of time, I'll ask the next presenter to come through and make his presentation. So under market development, there's also what is called a green bond, a green finance unit. Remember you talked about sustainable finance issues, right? So we do have a unit that is taking care of that. So they'll speak briefly about what they do. So Chama, I'll give you 5 minutes, then Elsa will come in.
Hello guys, how are you? Initially I wasn't meant to use slides, but I think I don't want to confuse you. I'll just give you a picture of some of the things. I've been told I need to hurry, so just skim through some of the